Hi, I'm Kyle with Whitaker Brothers, and I want to take a minute to talk about all of the options that you have for getting rid of hard drives. I'm going to be very generic in the words that I use because we're going to cover a lot of different options. The first one is the oldest. It goes by a lot of different names. There's DBAN, there's SecuErase. Some people call it exactly what it is, and that's just overwriting. Overwriting is taking all of the data on a hard drive and just putting a layer of data on top of it. But overwriting one time is considered very insecure, so some people go up to as much as overwriting 7 times. And for a long time, that was considered the best way of taking care of a hard drive. Those days have kind of changed. But as far as the pros of using overwriting, DBAN, SecuErase, it's free. Anybody can do it, doesn't cost anything. Cons, it takes forever. A 1 terabyte hard drive is hours. You get up into a 16 terabyte enterprise drive, you might need your computer doing overwriting for a couple days if you want to do it 7 times. It's not a very popular method for destruction anymore just because there are much better, significantly faster options out there. The next one is shredding a hard drive, the hard drive shredder. This is one of my favorites because it's so satisfying. You put in a 3.5-inch drive, you drop it in there, what comes out is bits. It feels great. The problem is, well, I mean, it's an industrial machine. It's expensive, it's big, and it's loud. And you know, with something that costs $20,000 plus, repairs are also going to run you $1,000 plus. So hard drive shredding is a lot of fun. A lot of people do it. But there are still better ways for eliminating your hard drives. Next one is my personal favorite. This is degaussers. Degaussers are great, but nobody knows about them. A degausser is a small chamber. We're not hooking the hard drive up to anything. We're just placing it into the chamber and closing the chamber. You hit the button and this chamber charges up and then pop. It releases what's called an electromagnetic pulse that irrecoverably wipes all of the data on the drive. So we're not talking about overwriting it. We're not talking about taking the sensitive platters and turning them into bits of sensitive information. We're talking literally turning a hard drive into an inert piece of metal. The only real drawback to a hard drive degausser is that a hard drive that's been degaussed looks exactly the same as a hard drive that is loaded with confidential information. There's no physical change, no perceptible change with a degaussed hard drive. You need a microscope to be able to tell the difference. There are ways around this, but you know, the fact of the matter is, even though they're inexpensive, even though they are fast, or way faster than anything else, they still look exactly the same. Hard drives that have been degaussed still look exactly the same. Moving on, we get into simpler forms of destruction. We've got a hard drive puncher, okay? You drop a hard drive into the slot, you hit a button, and something goes through and punches a little hole in it. And when you pull it out, it looks like somebody went to a shooting range and put a 9mm bullet through it. What does this do? It makes it really expensive to recover any data on that drive. And let me tell you, anything that I have in a personal level, and even most of the hard drives I've ever used at a business level, punching a hole in it's probably good enough. If you want to take this to a foreign country and spend a couple $1 million trying to put that data back together just to find out who I've been emailing, maybe you deserve it. But you know, it has the advantage of being relatively fast. It has the advantage of being quiet. It has the advantage of taking up a smaller space, about the size of a normal office shredder. The disadvantage, boy, for the same amount of money you could be degaussing, and I just have to wonder, why not? Why not? Degaussing has every advantage over punching, but that's what some people decide to do. The final method that we're going to cover is crushing a hard drive. So you take a hard drive and you crush it and cause bending. We also call it the taco maker here at Whitaker Brothers. So crushing a hard drive is lower on the price scale. We're talking, $5,000 or less in most cases. It's still very high security because it causes inflection in the hard drive, and believe it or not, whether you punch a hole in it or whether you bend it, It's the inflection that matters, not so much the hole, the inflection in the hard drive. It makes it tremendously expensive to recover the information off that drive. And also, hard drive crushers, they can be approved by the NSA for second stage destruction. Now, first stage destruction always goes back to my favorite. That's degaussing. But for second stage destruction, a hard drive crusher will do the job for you if it's NSA approved. So advantages: inexpensive, small footprint, not very loud, fairly fast, not as fast as degauss, but fairly fast. Disadvantages, not a ton, but again, we're in the price range of a degausser, and if you're going to do both, that's great. You're doing great things to protect the security of your information. But if you're just going to bend a hard drive, I have to ask, why not just degauss it instead, okay? Degauss it and use a magic marker to write on there that it's been degaussed. It's just so much more secure than any other option out there. So now I want to go over the speeds of the different options we have, because that's what really matters to most people, is how quickly can I do it, and also what do I satisfy by using this method. Well, I want to go over the speeds though. When it comes to DBAN, which is also overwriting or secular erase, we could be, and it depends on the speed of your computer, so supercomputers can do it way faster than normal desktop computers can, but we're talking about roughly 18 hours per terabyte. The hard drive in my computer here at the office is 4 terabytes, so we might be talking 2 or 3 days to do that, at least for 7 times over. It's kind of inefficient. You won't see a lot of people doing overwriting anymore. And the people that are doing overwriting, most of the time just don't know about the other options available to them. Then we move on to hard drive shredding. This gets really fast. We're talking about maybe 8 to 12 seconds from the time you turn it on to the time you're reducing a hard drive to bits. You've got more expensive ones that are faster. You've got less expensive ones that are cheaper. But we're talking about 10 to 20 seconds per hard drive, no matter which option you go with. Moving on, we're at a degausser. These are great. I've always said we've got one that degausses a hard drive in 0 to 5 seconds. Most commercial degaussers are going to be 20 seconds or less. If you get into NSA approved degaussers, which are the highest security ones on the planet, which are degaussing at 4 times the strength necessary to degauss a hard drive, then we get into 25, 35, 45, sometimes up to a minute per hard drive. But still, when you consider that overwriting can take days, spending 1 minute to degauss a hard drive, that's not so bad. Moving on, you've got hard drive punchers. When you drop it into the slot, you hit the start button, you're looking at about 20 seconds per drive, somewhere in that range, and then it drops out the bottom into a waste bin. Hard drive punches are very popular at a commercial level because they're inexpensive and because they don't take up a ton of space. But as I've said over and over and over again, if you're not buying a degausser to destroy your hard drives, it's probably because you don't know that they exist. The final option is a hard drive crusher. This is also very popular at the highest security levels and also very popular at the lowest security levels. The reason being, it's approved by the NSA. And it can destroy a hard drive in about 14 seconds. That's fast. It doesn't take up much space. It could fit on the desk right in front of me. They're just a really great option for people who don't know about degaussers, and also for people who know about degaussers and are already degaussing their hard drive and then moving on to crush them.
And then you can do conclusion.
So in conclusion, I think I've made it obvious. Degaussing is the way to do things. Overwriting is history. Shredding hard drives is expensive and it's fun. It's fast. But why? Why spend all that money? You don't really have to. Because after you've degaussed it, you're just turning a hunk of metal into little pieces, and it doesn't matter how many pieces there are. Hard drive punchers, they have their place. They're cheap. They don't take up a ton of space. But really we're just putting a little hole in it, and all the data's still on the hard drive. You've just made it really difficult for somebody to put that hard drive back together in a way that it could be read again, but it is possible. And then finally, crushing a hard drive. You're causing a lot of inflection in the platters. You are again making it tremendously expensive to recover the data. But for the price tag, why not just degauss it? So that's my opinion on hard drive destruction. I'm sure other people might give you other ideas. I've been at this for about a decade though. I think I've seen most of these situations and applications out there. And again, the only people who aren't degaussing are generally the people who don't know about them or don't trust them. My name's Kyle with Whittaker Brothers. Thanks for watching.